All right, I think we're live. This is Rachel Marshall with the Money Advantage podcast, and today we're talking about legacy. And more specifically, we're talking about the things that you need to truly leave an impact that lasts. I think so many of us have this desire to be able to do something that's bigger than ourselves, to contribute, to make a difference, to make a positive impact in the world. And the challenge with that is that as we're going from our current way of thinking or our old way of operating to this method or this position of influence and of impact and of truly making a huge difference in people's lives around us, we have to have that transformation in order to become a new person and think new thoughts to be able to do that. And that's what we're going to talk about today. The number one thing, or the number two things, the two most important things that you need to be able to truly leave a lasting impact. So today, Bruce is not joining me today. He is at a conference for our industry with life insurance specifically. And so I'm going to be talking today about something that is near and dear to my heart and also is one of the crucial elements and components behind all of the work that we do on the financial planning front. And so we're going to dig into this meaning of legacy today. Now, I want to share with you what got me first started thinking about legacy was a personal crisis. You may or may not have heard my story, so I'll tell you a little bit here, but you can read the rest of it in my book, 7 Generations Legacy, which I'm going to unpack a key piece of today. Now, of course, yours won't come with all those amazing tabs on it, but you can get 7 Generations Legacy, where we'll link in the show notes here, and then also you can grab that at 7generationslegacy.com. So my crisis started like a very ordinary day, and I was pregnant. We were getting ready to have our second child. And the labor process ended up being something that was a little bit unexpected, but I went into everything thinking I was healthy, baby was healthy, until things weren't quite as good. So she ended up they said she was in distress. We had to induce labor. And even though that looked like a risky, scary situation for her, it ended up being just fine as soon as she was delivered. And then the challenge came when I faced a crisis personally. I ended up losing a lot of blood. My placenta wouldn't detach. I ended up in emergency surgery and really with my life hanging on the line. There were several hours that I was away from my husband after delivery, and he was getting 2 reports during that time. One was she's losing blood and we can't stop the bleeding. And then they came back several hours later and said, we stopped the bleeding, but they gave a whole string of medical jargon. And he ended up asking, well, is it better or worse? And they said it's worse. And I was in something called DIC, where my blood was clotting with small clots throughout my body instead of clotting properly the way that usually would stop bleeding. And so I was losing the clotting factor in my blood. The only way to fix that was a full blood transfusion. I was getting that blood transfusion and ended up unconscious, ended up in a situation where there was a 50% survival rate. And thankfully, miraculously, by the grace of God, God rescued me from that situation and brought me out of that. And I am alive today as a living testimony of his goodness and his grace in my life and our family's life. But that really transformed our thinking. Before, I was thinking that I was just living my life. It was almost a expectation that life would continue on tomorrow, that there was nothing that was looming in front of us that was a reason to have an existential moment. And all of a sudden, we were confronted with this reality that life is not guaranteed. And at the same time that it was scary and overwhelming, it was also this beautiful understanding that if I am here and I am living this life, I have this family, I have this husband, I have these children, I have these resources, this mental capability, these skills and resources to be able to improve my life and improve other people's lives, that I need to use them to the greatest capacity to make the biggest difference possible. And specifically, Lucas, my husband, and I started looking at the capability that we had right now to make a difference for our children if anything happened to us. Let me help you understand what this means. Before that, we thought we have the financial plans in place, we have the estate planning in place, and we're prepared for a what if scenario. after that moment, we realized it was not a what if scenario, it was a win scenario. The fact that our lives are not guaranteed makes us realize that we have power today while we have our mental faculties and we have our life and our breath to be able to do so much that will impact the lives of our children and grandchildren beyond us. So let's talk about you. If you are going to create something that lasts beyond you, there's this mindset shift that has to happen. And as I was looking at the idea of mindset, something really rose to the surface. This idea that whenever you're changing your actions or your behavior, that can be very difficult. You're doing what you're currently doing in your life with your current mindset, your current way of thinking, and your current standard operating procedure, whatever that may be, and it's getting you the results that you've gotten up to this point. But if you're going to do something bigger or grander or reach beyond what you've done in the past, you need to embrace a new way of thinking so that your behavior and your actions can flow out of that. If you just try to do all of the right tactics and strategies and figure out what the successful people are doing, and you just try to implement behavior and you have this, you try to make your behavior change without changing your mindset, the challenge is you can exhaust yourself with all of these techniques and strategies and trying really hard to do the right things when your mindset is still over here, stuck in the old way, that's pulling you, this gravitational force that's pulling you back into your old way of operating. So let's first talk about what that transformation is, and then the two essential things that you need if you really want to make that lasting impact and that difference. So the shift, the transformation from the old to the new is this. You're going from thinking just about personal benefits and thinking about your gain that you're getting from your business, from your financial life, from your personal successes. You're thinking rather than just about what is going to preserve and protect and profit you, you're now thinking about the impact on your clients, on your family, on the world. Let's just look at this for a moment. As you are serving people in business, whether you're an optometrist, whether you're a doctor, whether you're an attorney, whether you are an entrepreneur that is thinking about solutions and providing solutions in the marketing space that never have been seen before, or whether you're in the cryptocurrency space, whatever you're doing, you are creating an opportunity for other people that they did not otherwise have. And if you are able to do that well, you're having an impact on their life, and their life is improved and becomes better as a result. So, just by the nature of business itself, serving other people allows you to have a positive impact. But then you can say, that's not the only shift that I'm looking to make. There's also this shift that goes from thinking about your own personal financial independence, where you're maybe thinking about how do I become financially free? How do I become unshackled from a 9 to 5 job or from the grind, a W-2 employee position? How do I create this income stream from assets? How do I personally become financially independent? And if that is your current operating system, the new transformation that you need to really leave a lasting impact is that you're now thinking about, well, how do I leave something beyond me? How do I do more than just take care of my needs and make sure that I have everything, have enough to retire and to live to the end of my life? How do I make sure that I have more than enough and that that has something to leave past me, leave to my children, leave to my grandchildren? You're thinking bigger. Another shift or another transformation from the old to the new way of thinking is from thinking about self to thinking about posterity, thinking about your family line and how you can lift and improve and benefit them so that they have a higher starting point than you did. And that's doing good, right? That's doing something that you might have had to struggle and strive and reach and claw your way up from the bottom. And now you want that opportunity for your children or grandchildren to not have to start over from that same starting spot. You want them to be able to continue from where you left off and do even more good because of the impact and the things that you left for them. You're shifting from retirement thinking to generational wealth. You're thinking from entrepreneurship and just your personal service as an entrepreneur to family enterprise, and thinking about how you can have a business that lasts and have a family business that continues in future generations, where perhaps the business is serving the family and the family is working in the business. You're going from short-term to long-term thinking. You're going from this possibly one person I was talking to just the other week was in a situation that they were very, very successful. They had business thriving. They were using great techniques in their business, and they were breaking the mold and breaking records in business. And then they had a crisis moment where they lost everything, and they realized that it wasn't the business success that they really wanted to be known for. It was I a good father? Was I a good dad? Was I a good husband? And in my case, am I a good mom? Am I a good wife? Am I a good sister? Am I a good daughter? Am I being the person that has the relationships that are really, that I'm creating my identity based on those positive relationships? And how can I do that even better? You realize what really matters in life. So that is part of the transformation from where you are to where you're going. And in order to get there, in order to create an impact that allows you to have that transformation, it's not just about strategies and tactics, it is about mindset. Here's the two key elements of the mindset that you need in order to really make this shift and step into that transformation so you can become the person who leaves a lasting impact and does all of those things I mentioned, creates enterprise, a family enterprise, creates generational wealth, has this long-term thinking, has a positive impact in the world. Here are the two things that you need. And I think of them as chopsticks. As I mentioned in my book, 7 Generations Legacy, you need these two key components that have to work together. If you have only one chopstick, you're not going to be very successful at using that as a tool. But together, you can use them to create this leverage, and you can use them to pick up anything and eat wonderful Asian food and enjoy it and appreciate it more powerfully and have a richer experience. So if you think of chopsticks or train tracks is another great analogy, because with one track, you can't direct the train, but two, you can have them create an opportunity to create this, this traffic and have a flow of resources from one place to another. And you can create any opportunity across any continent with 2 train tracks. Now, the 2 essentials that you need for legacy planning are a decision to create wealth and 7-generation glasses, or a 7-generation lens. I want to unpack those briefly for you here, because those 2 key components, if you adopt them and you fully, wholeheartedly lean into those 2 essentials that you need to create a positive impact that lasts, you will be 80% of the way there. When you have the right mindset, you're able to take on with energy and with enthusiasm all of the right techniques and systems and strategies and put the right formulas and blueprints in place. But if you try to implement a blueprint and a strategy and a system without the right mindset, you will end up frustrated and overwhelmed, and you will not create the impact and the results that you're looking for. So when we look at a decision to create wealth, the most important thing that you need to know about wealth is that wealth and money are not the same thing. You can look at any tool. I'm thinking of Dan Sullivan. I'm reading his book right now, 10x is easier than 2x. Highly recommend that. He's talking about money and wealth not being the same thing, because wealth is the fullness of experience and all of the things that we desire and want, where money is a financial tool that measures the transactions that happen in order to facilitate wealth. So let's think about it another way. From Jay Hughes, he talks about wealth being human flourishing. I love that definition, human flourishing, because in order to really enjoy your life and be expansive and create and have all the things that you want to have, you need to be flourishing. And it's on multiple fronts, not just financial resources, because you could have all the money in the world and not be happy, not have good relationships, not be thriving mentally, not be alive spiritually. and you could not be in a position that would be considered wealthy. But when you're grateful and you have everything that you could desire, and your relationships are thriving, and you have this joy and sense of fulfillment and purpose, you're wealthy. And that's the kind of wealth that you need to create. You need to be committed to creating human flourishing. Now, how do we do that? Finances and money are a component of that. I mean, they're not divorced from each other. They do connect hand in hand. But here's how they work. As you think about a decision to create wealth, what does that actually mean? It means a decision to create flourishing in your own life and flourishing for your children and grandchildren. That means that you're not just thinking about the money that you can get to your kids and grandkids, or the money that they'll have, or the money that they'll use. You're instead thinking about the kind of people that they become, the character, the stewardship, the values that they'll exhibit, the kinds of relationships they'll have, the opportunities they'll have, access they'll have. So if you think about how to create that for your children, you will think about developing multiple areas of their life. You'll think about how to develop their human capital, their social capital, their intellectual capital, their spiritual capital, and their financial capital. You will think about how to allow them to become a person that is capable of thriving and flourishing on all of these fronts. And if you're committed to human flourishing and you're committed to wealth creation, you're going to be a producer, a thinker, a person who solves problems for others, a person who is expansive in your thinking because you are looking for solutions and you're being a solution creator. And as you provide that value to other people, dollars, money flow into your life as a result of that, because that money is the way that our world measures the receipt of value transaction. Meaning, if I've served you, then dollars will flow into my life to certify and to be a certificate that value was exchanged. If I desire a pair of shoes and I'm willing to pay a certain dollar amount because I really need a specific kind of shoes that will serve a specific purpose and last and be a valuable component in my wardrobe and will allow me to do the things that I want to do. Let's just say it's a pair of hiking boots. I need that thing to be able to have or to achieve what I want to achieve. And I'm willing to exchange dollars as a result. I realize that somebody else had to create those shoes specifically with a lot of clear thinking about how they would be used and how people like me would need to use this pair of shoes. And they put all of that research and creativity into that product. And the way that I tell them it was valuable is that I'm willing to pay for it. So dollars flow into our life as a result of value exchange. And as we are committed to create wealth, making a decision to create wealth means I am looking for opportunities to provide value to others. And not just myself, but if I'm also training my children to look for opportunities to provide value to others. In my book, I talk about a story, a family friend of ours who they were able to create a home that was a space that they could invite their children to stay and their grandchildren to stay overnight and to enjoy this space with them. They had a boat that they're able to take their children water skiing and wakeboarding behind the boat. And they had places in their home for multiple guest rooms and places where the kids could keep their toothbrushes and have hooks in the closet to hang all of their towels when they were at this lake house, spending time building relationships. It required financial resources to create that opportunity so that those relationships could flourish. And they were committed to becoming financially successful. But even more than that, they were committed to the human flourishing, the future flourishing of their family. And that is what is key in order to enjoy and the experiences and create the opportunities in this life. We need financial resources to be able to do that. But we don't just look at how do we create the financial resources. The cause of those financial resources is service and creating value for others. So that is one of the commitments that you need if you're going to create a lasting impact that lasts for generations past you. The second thing that you need is 7-generation glasses. And when I say glasses, I mean a lens or a perspective, the way that you choose to view the world. The term comes from the ancient Iroquois, who at a tribal council would make decisions by saying, we want to make decisions based on what would be beneficial and improve the lives of our great, 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 great grandchildren, 7 generations past us. Now they were thinking about how to create something, an opportunity for after their lifespan was over, that it would continue doing good in the lives of their posterity. And that is the epitome of long-term thinking. If we look at the Bible, in Proverbs 13:22, it says, a wise man or a good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children. Now, there's so much to unpack there that we don't have time for right now, but one of the most important things is that it's long-term thinking. It's thinking about how you can create benefits that are past the end of your life. But in order to do that, you have to think differently, because it's not just about what you can do. It's about what you can do through others, because you have to incorporate and include and collaborate together and create this team of your entire family line. You have to create the opportunity for those after you, your children, to be able to pick up this value of benefiting their children, so that their children will pick up the value of benefiting their children. But if you start thinking about what you can do today to plant seeds that will become a harvest for your great, 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 great grandchildren, I guarantee that you will think differently. You'll begin making better decisions. And if you even just compact this idea down to, I talk about in the book, making decisions about what you're going to eat. If you think about what tastes good right now, in the moment, and we just think about being present only for what matters right now or instantaneously, we'll eat anything that we think tastes good. But if you are thinking about how to create the agility and the capability of movement and freedom and flexibility and the ability to enjoy life 4 decades from now, you're going to make different choices with your health. And the same goes for your finances, and the same goes for your impact and your legacy planning. When you're thinking way beyond you, now your lens makes the decision so much clearer, because you're not just thinking about how you can do something that's going to have a short-term gain or a short-term result. You're thinking about the longest term solutions, the things that will last, the things that will actually matter after you're gone. So with that, we're going to go ahead and close this episode today, because once you pick up that in one hand, that decision to create wealth, human flourishing, finances are a component of that, but you're committed to making sure that you're serving others so that dollars can flow into your life, so that you can be in a position of creating the life and the flourishing for yourself and for those all around you, your children and your grandchildren, especially. When you're having that decision to create wealth, you will begin to think differently and solve problems for others that will profit and benefit and prosper you. And in the other hand, when you're thinking long-term, you're thinking multi-generationally, not just for yourself and not just for the present moment. Those two components in your two hands will become those train tracks that allow you to create a lasting impact and really make a difference for those after you. So if you are interested in more of this concept and really finding out the formula and the framework and the tools and strategies that you put in place after you have the right mindset, then you can go over to 7generationslegacy.com. Go ahead and grab my book, and along with it come a bunch of bonuses. You'll be able to be equipped with not only the digital book, but the audio book and tools that are about how to make sure your estate plan is bulletproof. We even have an interview included in that at that same purchase price, which is only $4.99. And that is an interview with our attorney that helps you think through everything that you need in your estate planning to make sure that it really creates the opportunity and the results that you're looking for down the road in your family as you're transferring assets. But even more than transferring assets, you're leaving a legacy and a true inheritance. So I encourage you to go get this book at 7generationslegacy.com, and please go ahead and drop in your questions. I look forward to discussing this topic in further detail. And with that, I'm going to remind you, success leaves clues. So model the successful few, not the crowd, and build a life and business you love. We'll see you next time.